Good morning to everyone, and thank you for coming to this uh, sort of an emergency info session on limited face-to-face classes. So, just like anything else in relation to the COVID pandemic, so all
Recording in
things,
progress.
yeah, thank you for the recording. So, all things related to the pandemic are very fluid, and then actually guidelines would change from time to time, and then therefore our education, the college education, is also affected by these guidelines, and then we have to adapt also. So matud palagi sa dean sa College of Nursing, you only assume that the things that we plan for limited face-to-face would really be materialized once you have set foot within the university. Katong yung nakasulod na gid ka sa laboratory, nagkuan na gid mo, nag-experiment na gid mo didto. So mo nagig kuno na nadayon nagig kuno ang inyong limited face to face, which is really true. So daghan naman tag experience ani, like for example, we have planned for in campus OGT, complete na ang preparations and so on and so forth, approval by CHED, but then wala gyapon na dayon because the quarantine classification of Cagayan de Oro has changed. Okay, now, so let me continue with this. So I call this College of Engineering Limited Face-to-Face Primer 2.0. So in my count, this is actually the third info session that we have. Okay. So part one, let me begin with important announcements and reminders. Okay. So first is that on February 3, afternoon only, and then on February 4, whole day, the College of Engineering building and the ME Annex Lab will be off limits to us because there would be bar exam that would be happening within Xavier University. So we are not allowed to go into our building apil na ang ME Annex Lab. So I am expecting that the university will issue a memo regarding this today. And then, of course, because of this, of limits man sa atong facilities, so faculty members who may have scheduled limited face-to-face activities on these dates and times should make adjustment in their class calendar and inform the students. And then, of course, kung na-draw up na ang learning contract at naapektahan, it should be revised. Right? Because ang atong last issuance on the start of the limited face-to-face activities is on February 2 man to siya. Right? And then, naigo naman ni February 3 and February 4. Okay. So that's the first announcement. And then, of course, I have to discuss this also with you. So, naidagan pangutana, will our limited face-to-face classes would really post through? Madayon bagayod. So, there are circulating talks, Facebook posts on the impending change on the alert level status of CDO from level 3 to level 4. However, wala pa official nga announcement ani. So, therefore, sa pagkakaroon, we will consider these talks and posts as fake news. So, dili pa na siya tinuod. Because ang tinuod, mugawas ra gyud if there would be now official announcement of the new alert levels of different cities or provinces in the country. So, ato na siyang kulatan, I think, hapit naman, no? Kay usually, it is released at the middle of the month or at the end of the month. Okay. So in case CDO alert level would rise up to 4 or 5, God forbid, we will all revert to the 100% online mode automatically. So this has been made clear man sa atong previous information sessions. Okay? Because at these alert levels 4 and 5, no limited face-to-face classes are allowed. Okay, so what are the options just in case we would revert to 100% online or our alert level has rise up to 4 or 5. Okay, so laboratory instructors are suggested to apply any or combinations of the following in order of reference. So first is that they could postpone the planned face-to-face lab activities to the later part of the semester. Hopefully, alert level would revert by then. And then, if i-postpone ng aton nga plan nga face-to-face lab activities, then of course, we will have to do first the learning activities that can be done online. So, ato lang na siyang ibaylo or i-rearrange if that is possible. And then, sometimes it could not be possible. Okay? There are some laboratory activities that are really rigid in terms of connections of the learning activities, the topics, and the learning outcomes. Dapat gid magkasunod-sunod. So if that is not possible nga you could rearrange, then of course, you could implement online activities instead. So ato na ka sa imong online alternatives, such as simulations, video demonstrations, or doable at-home practical assignments. That is only if it is possible and safe, and other alternatives. So, logically, mura magini atong mabuhat, no? If we revert back to 100% online. This is referring to our laboratory classes that we declared for limited face-to-face. Okay. Additional reminders, accomplishment and submission of the learning contract for limited face-to-face lab classes. So the deadline will be February 1, and then make sure that you have submitted this to e-learn. Okay? So, namagyan na siya. So, e-learn naman ta karon. Then I expect that your instructors have made a submission portal, like an assignment or whatever, na masubmit ninyo ang inyong learning contract for the limited face-to-face lab classes. So, if you can remember, I have issued a memo regarding this. Then, appeal pag yun ang template, or recommended or suggested template kung unsay na ay dapat ibutang dito, no? Like, I indicated there that, of course, the basic things like your name, the laboratory class, and so on and so forth. And then first is your group assignment. Saka na-assign yung group, and then you identify your group members, and then the bigger part there is actually a listing of the laboratory activities for which you are assigned to attend physically, na yung mga dates, and so on. So, importante. So, the purpose of that, why I require that is that I want to ensure that students and instructor have planning discussions about the face-to-face lab activities, and there is agreement. Right? So, maginang pinaka-importante nga magsabot si instructor o ang mga students. And then also to set student group assignment. So, inform them early of the lab activities assigned to them, the dates that we need to report to Xavier University. Because this is also very important. Knowing the schedules ahead of time is also very important for the planning of the students. Katulaging mubiyahe ba sa Cagayan de Oro, would there be a need to get a boarding house or an apartment in CDO? Kaya basig isa ra day ka experiment ang iyang maapilan, so there's no need to really be here at CDO all the time, no? Pwede rin siya makatravel on that particular day. And of course, to support the planning of instructors and students. And it is also an existing academic policy. So this is related to our requirement that we have to present the syllabus or the outline to the students so that they will know what are the things to be discussed, to be covered, and then they would agree to the class policies described. So, partners, yeah. All right. So, another reminder, Omicron. So, Omicron is, the most common strain of COVID that is spreading nowadays. And then it is reported to be spreading faster than the prior COVID variants. And then different or even milder symptoms are also being reported. So, dili daw kuno kaay siya grabe, generally. And then, kusog kuno kaayo mo spread. So therefore, if you are joining limited face-to-face, do not report to school if you have any of the following. So manigurado na lang gid no. So like for example, fever. Klaro naman gid na. So kung na kay fever gibati, ayaw na lang yun pag ani sa school. Ubo, tiredness, colds, runny nose, mga common na gid sila ng mga symptoms. So, and then there are less common symptoms also as described in GMC 2021-001. Take note ha, 001, murag earlier versions pa ni siya. So murag alpha, delta variants ba yata ang na-cover ani. So muna nga akong giusap gamay ang most common symptoms. Feel good ang cough. So supposed to be dry cough man ni siya sa GMC 001, but di naman dry cough lang karon, di ba? So any cough and then kinipod ang sipon. So kinipod mga additional things, additional symptoms. So if you have this, don't come to school. Okay, and then if you have serious symptoms, then you better seek medical help. Okay? So dito na sa balay. Ayaw na pag-travel. Ayaw na pag-andi sa school. Okay, to continue. Another reminder, health insurance documentary requirements. So kung wala pa nakasubmit, kindly submit them through the ACES survey form as soon as possible. So if you have enrolled in any limited face-to-face classes, and then plano gini mo nga mo appeal sa limited face-to-face classes, mo tungagi ka ba, then submit this. Very important requirement sa gamay ha, kay saba ako mga iro. Let me continue. So, non-submission of the health insurance documentary requirements will be a cause for refusal of entry to Xavier during face-to-face activity days. And then, you should also be ready with the health declaration process at the entrance gate. Kaya mo ni siya makalangan. And then, it's better to use the online form. So, if you have internet connectivity, sa gate, pagsulod mo sa Xavier, so it's better to use the online form because you can fill this up early. So I will release the link through ACES advisory later. So muna ang usual na ko nga mong gagamiton pagsulod sa Xavier, dili ko ga-fill up adtong papel kailangan. So ang online form na lang. Okay. So wait for this para convenient sa inyo ang pagsulod. Next. Okay, now we go to the main part of our discussion, the update on Xavier University Limited Face-to-Face Academic Policy. Okay, so before we go into that, let us first have a background. So let us review one of the limited face-to-face guidelines that we have discussed in our prior meeting. So number 3 man siya sa akong previous na presentation. So HAI shall advise fully vaccinated students with severe immunity, blah blah blah, and so on. And then the implication of this is that students nga dili maka-appeal sa limited face-to-face would have to fill up leave of absence for the specific courses nga implemented limited face-to-face, and then together with the leave of absence, a curricular catch-up plan is prepared. So with this old guideline, So meaning to say, so kwan yun, no? Clear kaing choice. If you don't join the limited face-to-face, then you don't enroll in that particular subject. So, kay dili man ka mo enroll, para dili maapektahan ng imong mga residency requirements, status as a student, then you have to fill up this leave of absence. And then this leave of absence is expected to have also a curricular catch-up plan, meaning plano ba? When you go back to school later, unsa may mga courses nga imong kuhaon. And then, of course, the school is obligated to implement whatever is this catch-up to the LOA. Okay, so klaro na siya ha, sa kini nga version sa guideline, kung dili ka mo appeal ang mga parents or choice gini mga dili, then wala kay choice but to file for the leave of absence. Dili ka maka-appeal ato nga klase, and then therefore there is an implication, right? So let me continue with my presentation. So what are the pros and cons of the guideline number 3? Ito, the previous one that I have presented. So the advantage or the pros is that hands-on learning is ensured for all graduates. So kung dili ka maka-appeal sa kato mga limited face-to-face nga na ang mga hands-on learning gi-offer dito, then of course, you will not have a grade for that particular course. And then of course, your graduation will be moved, di ba? So muna siya ang kuan pod. Some students may not graduate on time. However, katong mga estudyante nga ni-appeal gid sa limited face-to-face, so naka-experience gid sila atong hands-on, and then hands-on nga mga activities, and then we are sure that the learning, the critical learning that you would like them to have can only be learned through hands-on exposure or laboratory exercises are there. So then let us proceed. So another advantage of guideline number 3 is this. It is more convenient for instructors because there is only one set of laboratory activities and grading to be done. Di ba? So this is really true because if all of your students in a class, lab class, limited face-to-face, tanan gina sila mo appeal sa limited face-to-face activities, then there is only one version of your syllabus or course outline or lesson plan that you are going to design and implement. On the other side, kini man ni sa kuan, on the other side, instructors could be also forced to prepare alternative online activities for students who got COVID or other sickness, quarantine, isolated, and other valid reasons of absence. So bisa pag bisa pag all of your students have declared that they would really join limited face-to-face, but it's always a possibility that some of them would get sick, and then also na ay other valid reasons of absence, and then ma-miss nila ang mga limited face-to-face activities, and then what would you do with them? So sa ato rabang guideline is that we don't allow extension of laboratory sessions or a special schedule of laboratory sessions. Okay, restricted yun kaayo ang atong use of the laboratory, di ba? So therefore, in this particular case, the instructor could be forced to prepare alternative online activities for those students who cannot join the limited face-to-face, even if those students have declared beforehand na appeal sila sa limited face-to-face. Okay. Then another disadvantage for guideline number 3 is that more cost and effort for the school to implement learning contracts, because what is implicated here is that, for example, student A would not join CE12 kato bitong surveying karon nga semester, nag-LOA siya. So therefore, part gid sa iyang learning contract is that i-implement ang CE12 at a later semester, like for example, next school year. first semester. And then let us suppose that only 5 students ang nag-LOA adto nga section. Then therefore, next school year, first sem, the CE department will be forced to offer that particular laboratory class as a reading course. Kaya imo gyud, like the school is really obligated to implement it, di ba? Kay learning contract god gisignan both sides. So the school would be obligated to implement it as a reading course, and of course, implementing a lab class as a reading course is not a good thing to do. Okay, it is really it affects the economics because running a laboratory class is very costly. And then tuition based man gyud ang savior. So mo na siya nga unfavorable siya sa school. And then of course, klaro man gyud ang according to guideline number 3, there is always health risk for instructor, lab techs, and students. Present na gyud siya. Okay. So let me proceed. Now, there is a new limited face-to-face academic guideline which is just approved, formally approved yesterday sa among higher ed council nahitabo gahapon. So mo ni siya nga, this is the cost why emergency ang atong meeting. So this is now the final or the latest version of the guideline relating to face-to-face. So Xavier would really comply with this. Non-mandatory siya, di ba? Kaya di maginato mapugos because of safety and other concerns. But there are different versions now. Like for the College of Nursing and School of Medicine, stricto ang requirement nila. Like for example, in the College of Medicine, their PRC requirement yun, like you can take the board exam only if you complete a certain amount of duty hours. Nagi-set bitaw gyud nga klaro gyud sa ilang pag-take sa board exam. So meaning to say, katong mga estudyante sa College of Nursing nga mag-LOA, dili gid to sila maka-take sa board exam if they are not able to complete the duty hours. Right? And it's also true for medicine. And take note, these two group of students belonging to nursing and medicine are really on the health-related field, and then more bitog stricto gid ni siya because they are really dealing primarily with lives of patients. So therefore, the LOA would hold true still for College of Nursing and School of Medicine. Okay, so for students belonging to other schools and colleges, like for example, the College of Engineering, so inani na dayon ang bag-o. So should you feel that you are not yet ready at this time to participate in such limited face-to-face classes, you will be given equivalent online activities, but will not, however, receive the same task performance credits that students who attend limited face-to-face session will receive. So the school or the colleges will draw out their own specific implementation of the 10 to 20% grade credit for lab performance for those who participate in the limited face-to-face classes. Okay, so moni, so para klaro ta, so that we will be on one page on how to interpret or how to understand this particular guideline. So I presented these implications for students first. So LOA system will not be required anymore. So that is the first one. So wala man na-appeal si College of Engineering dito sa LOA system sa bag-ong guideline. So therefore, the LOA system will not be required anymore for us. Students not joining face-to-face activities can enroll in limited face-to-face lab classes. They can now enroll. So they can enroll because they could be provided with the alternative online activities. But the College of Engineering remains in this principle yun, the skills that can only be learned through hands-on exposure remain to be very critical for engineering graduates. The students are strongly encouraged to participate in the limited face-to-face lab classes. So even if LOE system is not required anymore, we are still strongly encouraging you students to participate in the limited face-to-face lab classes. Okay. And then to put emphasis on this importance, students choosing not to join face-to-face activity will only have 80% maximum grade on his or her alternative online activity output. So 80% maximum grade lang ang madawat niya kung dito siya sa alternative online activity. So the College of Engineering sets the maximum at bitang 10 to 20% man itong giingon sa Higher Ed Council. So we set the maximum grade credit for lab performance na 20% because of this. Kinigod, importante gid sa ato ang katong skills that can only be learned through hands-on exposure. So, meaning, so balik ko ha, kung nag-off ka sa alternative online activity lang, di ka mutunga sa face-to-face nga activity, then the highest grade that you can get from that activity is only 80%. So with this, another implication with this is that students who have valid reasons not to join face-to-face can still graduate on time because 80% is also a passing grade, right? So kang graduate yapon kung dili ka maka-appeal, kung na kay valid reasons or choice gid mo dili mo appeal. Okay. Other implication for students. However, students should declare at the start whether to join limited face-to-face or not because it is very important for planning of the laboratory instructor. They cannot change decision at the middle of the term. So, sabota, ani ha? Pag sugod pa lang yun, declare na ka nga mo-appeal ka sa limited face-to-face or dili. You cannot change your decision at the middle of the semester. Kaya lisod kaay na dayon ang pag-adjust sa mga laboratory schedules, groupings, and so on and so forth. Remember, a very important requirement sa atong laboratory experiments or activities is the physical distancing, at least 1.5 meters. And then, kana nga requirement, kana nga basic nga requirement, it controls the number of students that could be accommodated in our lab. And therefore, it limits the number of meetings that we could have in our lab. So this is very important. Okay, another thing is that students who declared joining the limited face-to-face at the start of the SEM, but unfortunately not physically present in the lab due to any reason for a particular face-to-face activity, will be allowed to do the online alternative, and that student will only get 80% max of the said output grade. So pwede po, nag-declare ka, the student declared at the start of the semester or before the semester even that he would be joining limited face-to-face. And then what if it would happen that that particular student is being isolated because of, exposure to COVID, or nasakit lang gid siya, like isang nasakit man, dili COVID nga sakit. So it's a valid reason to be absent, no? And then that student would not be able to join a scheduled face-to-face activity nga apil unta dapat siya. So we don't extend laboratory sessions and we don't reschedule laboratory sessions man. That is our default guideline. So therefore, that particular student will be allowed to do the online alternative, but that student would only get 80% marks of the output grade because that is our setting man for online alternative, right? So to be fair, okay. So I think I am now on my last slide. So this is now the implications for faculty members or laboratory instructors. Of course, the laboratory instructors can invoke the right to prioritize face-to-face part of the class. Okay, simply at the very beginning, the class is designed to be limited face-to-face. So equivalent online activities may be scheduled later by the instructor at the instructor's convenience. Right? So what I'm trying to say here is that the student yung katong nag-opt sa alternative online activity with valid reasons or iyagitong schedule, dili siya makapugos-pugos sa faculty nga dali-dalion bito niya nga, sir, tagain ako sa online equivalent online. Because si faculty busy magina siya, di ba? Ga-manage man na siya sa katong face-to-face na part sa class. So the faculty is given this right iyang ma-deprioritize, iyang ma-schedule later. But of course, there is a limit for this nga ma-schedule ni faculty at a later part of the semester because we have a deadline for INC completion. So, diha ra pud taman na ma-reschedule sa faculty member. Okay? So, then, there is also a proposal for limited face-to-face differential pay. It is currently lobbied by the Vice President of Higher Education to the Compensation and Benefits Committee in recognition to the added work of running, the possibility of running two modalities in a class. Na kay hands-on nga mga estudyante, napod kay mga estudyante nga na ay equivalent online activities and assessments. So, this is still being lobbied by our Vice President for Higher Education, and let us just hope and pray for its approval. Okay, so differential pay siya. Okay, that ends my presentation. So I am now open for any questions with regards to what I have just presented. And thank you for listening for that long presentation. Hello? Yes, ma'am. So, si Ma'am Sherlyn nag-raise sa us. Yes, Ma'am Sherlyn, you're recognized.
Yes, sir, good morning. Good morning, everyone. My question is, should a student opt not to join the face-to-face lab activity? Shall this also be included in the learning contract that he or she will submit?
Yes, it should be.
Diba? So dapat natay option dito sa limited sa atong learning contract na the student I will not be joining the limited face-to-face activity para klaro gyud kung documented na right from the start the student already opted not to join and cannot change his mind at the middle of the semester.
Yes. Thank you for that, Ma'am Sherlyn. So that means that we have to revise our learning contract. Okay. So fluid lagi dahil nga changes para ma-capture po na siya nga concern. Yes, ma'am. That's good.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Any other questions? So Aces, tabangi kong tanaw sa mga nag-raise na hand ha kay kamera na ba akong makita sa akong screen? Oh, from the students. Yes, ACES President Miguel Bote, you are recognized.
Yes, sir. Good morning, sir. Kanang mag-clarify lang ko, sir. If ma-positive ang student during his kanang laboratory face-to-face nga class, sir, ma-off din siya to take an online course, sir, di ba?
Online.
Then 80% of the yes, sir. So 80% of the maximum grade where they makuha na lang din, sir.
Yes.
So will that affect other factors, sir, such as kanang iyang scholarship, sir, or kanang iyang pag-dean's list na kwan, sir? So maapektuhan lang na, sir.
So that is one thing lisod lagi dito nato i-appeal dito sa consideration. Lisod siya. So, sa kung tanaw ha, sa pagkakaroon. But unless some other faculty members would provide uh, suggestions in relation to what is being shared by our ACES president. So, ang concern ng ACES president is that because kay 80% naman to ang maximum grade, no? Kung mag-online activity ka, and then
Yes,
panangitan
sir.
siya kuno na COVID gid siya. Oh, so
And ang
lang gid siya.
concern sorry, sir.
Oh, so
Yes, ang
ang
concern magidi mo arise ani sir
grado.
kay yes sir murag mapugos siya to choose between grades or iyang health na sir, what if kanang di pa siya sure sa symptoms pero iyang pugson kay di siya gusto ma 80% iyang grade sulod kay pun siya
Okay.
na situation sir.
Okay, sige. So this is a good discussion mo to bito. I think this is the reason why 10 to 20% ang giingon. Okay, so since naaman diri ang uban faculty members and department chairs, so I need their comments to finalize that particular concern. I think muni ang implication sa share ni Miguel Bote karon. The 10 to 20%. So, any comments from the department chairs? Si Sir Carlo, Carlo de la Cruz, nag-raise sayang hand. Sige, Sir Carlo. Sir Carlo de la Cruz, you're recognized.
Sorry sir, nalang ko'y question. Good morning. Wala ko'y comment kang question ni Bote. But I think we can internally discuss with the student only. We discuss with this one, I think.
What do you mean, sir?
Kung na siya ma-affect sa iyang scholarship or whatever. So maybe we can give additional work for him to overcome his ang kulang sa iya.
Okay. So what you are sharing with us, Sir Carlo, is that it's still related to the comment of the ACES president.
Yes.
So what you are proposing is that kung maapektahan gid ang iyang maapektahan gid ang iyang scholarship, then magsabot sila sa faculty na pwede siya matagaan og additional activities or output.
Yes.
So that overcome niya ang katong kulang. So may nagsabot na lang dayon sa faculty and students.
Maulan akong suggestion.
Yes, sige. That's recognized, sir. So sige. I think I need another comment from faculty members or department chairs in relation to this. So, valid gid siya. Kinsa to nagtingog ganina nga department chair? Mga si Sir Glenn man siguro to. Sir Glenn, naki-comment, sir?
Wala daw, sir, wala.
Wala. Oh.
Actually, na siya klase po sa PICAS.
Goy, Sige. Sir Carlo, you can raise down your hand if your question is already addressed. So, kuwan lang sa reaction, sir. Raise down yung hand. So, Leonor Lomantas is also recognized.
Hello, sir. Good morning and good morning sa tanan. In relation to Kuya Miguel's question ganina ba, like, pero medyo modified lang ni. What if kung ako lang ni-clarify, sir, nga, for example, nag-choose ang student o kanang limited face-to-face nga kuan nga mo saan tawag ani kanang path. But then na COVID siya and then ma-change siya into, di ba, directly into online.
Yeah, alternative.
Oo. Naabay possibility ana, sir, nga pwede siya inig maayo na siya and kanang qualified na nga dili na siya makatakod. Pwede ba siya mobalik og face to face ana nga situation or online na siya throughout the semester?
Yes. Yes, to answer your question, pwede gid siya mobalik because we have protocols man on returning back, di ba? So kung maulian na ka and then ang imong RT-PCR actually kung kuan gito nga na COVID yun, so na-isolate or quarantine or even na hospital, and then i-declare magina sa doktor once na fully recovered na ang patient, i-declare magina sa doktor, and then I think one of the requirements to declare is negative ang RT-PCR. So if that is the case, by all means, that particular student could go back to limited face-to-face, could go back to attending face-to-face activities.
Okay, sir. Thank you.
Yeah, that's also a good comment or imong interpretation of with regards to this policy. Anything else? Yes. NZ, Maandig, you're raising your hand, so you recognize.
Yes, sir. Hello, sir. Hello, everyone. Gusto lang ako mag-clarify. Dili ko sure kung na-answer ni sir. So, what lang, sir, ba? What if... Nakalimutan ko sa question.
Asa?
Nakalimutan ko sa question, sir. Kajot ka, sir.
Okay,
Ay,
sige.
joke. Nara, sir. Kwan, sir. Kanang lugar, so ato lagi i-follow, sir, sa kanang COVID case symptoms, ragit. So, dili na may kailangan mag-like, na-test yun nga negative me or like every time may musunod sa school.
No. We don't require that. We don't require that. So, health declaration namang yun. And of course, aside from the health declaration, your COVID vaccination card na completed, na-complete na nimo ang duha ka katubitong primary vaccination or isa lang kung Janssen and Janssen. Mamagito siya ang basic nga requirement nga makasulod ka sa Xavier. Maka-appeal ka sa limited face-to-face.
So, atong negative nga kwan, sir, ay harato kung na-COVID ka. Yeah.
Yes, ay harato kung na-proven yun nga nagka-COVID ka.
Sige, sir. Salamat, sir.
Actually, kwan, kanabitong mga istorya about RT-PCR or kinibitong antigen test. Actually, ang maka-recommend na gid ana is ang doktor man. So, magina siya ang kuan sa DOH nga dili basta-basta na siya nga buhaton or i-require sa student or worker. So without the recommendation of an attending doctor or physician, magina siya. Okay, so for simple lang nga pag adto sa eskwelahan, no appeal og face-to-face nga class, no, we don't require that. Only the vaccination card and then katong QR code o katuda yung health declaration para makasulod. Okay? Yes, Ma'am Shi.
Yes, sir. Follow up ko sa question of the student. In that case, sir, if there are, if a student got sick for any reason at all, can we require a clearance from our own university physician before we can accept him back to the lab? Okay, kami as faculty, as instructor, would not really know kung fit na ba ang estudyante to perform the lab activities, no? Especially after having been sick, whether it's COVID or not, diba? So, pwede ba nga when he or she comes back to the lab or perform the rest of the activities, mo drop by sa clinic to get the clearance from our physician before we can accept the student?
That thing, ma'am, I have to consult first with the higher ups. Okay. As far as I know, we really have to comply with the existing IETF or DOH guidelines on this kind of thing. So, dapat consistent now. So, honestly, I cannot really answer you kasi kay ko kabalog yun sa mga daghan magud usab-usab lagi sa guidelines or updating of guidelines. So,
okay, pero again, sir, pero pwede ra minimum nga kuan. Dili na sila kay kung dili wala sila nag-test or for whatever reason, 'di ba? So minimum na mo nga kanang murag go signal nga okay, pwede na sige maka-perform na ka sa lab is kana lang from the university physician nato. Dili pa nato na ma-require.
I will ask. I will
Sige.
ask kung kuan
Okay.
ba yun. Oh, sige. Kung
Thank you,
nabanggit
sir.
siya kuan validity. Yes, Jeff.
Yes, sir. Same
Mhm.
question lang, sir. If nasa guidelines mo good is if ang student exhibit og symptoms, but what if close contact siya sa positive patient? Would the rule be the same?
Actually, kuan, sa kung tan-aw Jeff ha, hindi ko expert aning mga protocols karon sa with regards to the pandemic. Kung close contact siya dito kasi let's assume na dito sa balay no. Close contact siya dito. Nakibalo na siya nga close contact siya sa proven nga COVID case or suspected. Then dili na gid siya muani sa school kay part baya sa health declaration bitaw ito itong tanong man na siya nga have you been in close contact with. So kung maka-answer siya yes dito, of course we are saying nga ang pag-kuan sa health declaration is with all honesty. Kay ato ra man gyapon ni siyang kuano kanang bitong sa advantage sa magigud nato. So with all honesty, kung na-expose siya, close contact siya, ma-click man niya, ma-check man niya ang yes. And then with that, kung na-ay yes, di gid siya makasulod sa Xavier. So, muna akong tanong ana, Sir Jeff.
Yes, sir. It seems good, sir, nga for the preparation, sir, ba, it's very difficult if the laboratory class starts at 7:30 a.m. You need to filter everything for the student. Masada ganito sa kung sa 9 ang yung schedule you can prepare everything.
Na ba day 7:30? Nga 9
Na
man
isa,
tanan.
sir.
Uy,
Na
na,
isa.
is that really true, Ma'am Shi? Nga na siya
Saturday
7:30?
ako, ma'am.
9
Really,
o'clock
oy?
atong earliest.
9 man.
9
Nasayop
o'clock
na
atong
siguro ka.
earliest, sir. As far as I know, for at least for surveying or CE labs, 9 o'clock or all the labs, 9 o'clock atong earliest in the morning and 1:30 in the afternoon.
Wala ning i-check, ma'am, kaya basig this is for the computational laboratory schedule.
Basig,
Team
basig.
ra magud og section, abot
Ah,
ta. Sige, thank you.
Sige. Nakauna si Carlo. Ma'am Julie, siya unahon sa nato si Carlo Putot. Sige.
Good
Sige,
morning,
Carlo.
sir.
Yes.
Question sa katong question ni Sir Jeff ba? Like, what if, like, dili sila mo answer with honesty sa katong health declaration at mo know sila na sila kanang sure jud sila naka-close contact within their family ba? Then mo enter siya sa class, then affected po tong student na naa sa class, what will happen lugar sa class? And like, since like, later on, ma-figure out man na more kailangan sa quarantine, kaya like, na positive to ang katong first na wala nag-properly declare siyang health declaration.
Yeah. I
So,
understand.
ang class kay like, mo get to like 80% na tanan for the
Sige.
activity like that, na wala man sila sala.
So mo na siya. Mo na siya lagi nga. Actually, so good pa lang gid sa sinungdanan sa pandemic. And then nabuhat ng health declaration nito nga protocol sa IATF sa DOH. It really is gasalig lang gina siya sa honesty sa tao. Just like contact tracing ba? Part man sa contact tracing, honesty sa tao. And then kung dili honest ang tao, then that's the moral obligation or moral burden sa tao. So, di man ginato na siya makuan. Personally I could not really control kung naay isa ka estudyante or faculty, even or lab technician nga mag-backup sa health declaration. Dili na nato makontrol. Oo. So that's why kita gid sa laboratory muna nga gi-implement din nato tong laboratory retrofitting, and then stricto gid ta bitaw sa physical distancing, 1.5 meters lang yun. Minimum dapat kung pwede lagyo yun. Oo, and then we are discouraging you to be very talkative during experiments, no, kay magsikitag istorya mo ra bagay na manggawas na dayon ang mga powers na to sa atong mouth na mo na dayon magkuan sa virus. Okay. So, these are the things na mo na lang gini atong mga layer of defense ba regards to that. But to go back for all intents and purposes of that health declaration, the person should be really honest. Okay? Para ra gyapon sa iyang safety and the safety of the others. I hope you are satisfied with my answer,
Or like,
Carlo.
what if lang lugar, so like another scenario na po, like let's say 9 ang lab, then wala siya nakabalo ahead ba, like afternoon na siya nakabalo na close contact yung family, then naka-contact man siya with sa iyang own family members, then like wala man siya kabalo.
Okay, kung
Like that, sir.
nahibalo siya later, of course, later pa siya nakahibalo, dili ko doon niya ma-indicate sa iyang health declaration, makasulod din siya. So,
Or like, what
if that is happening, na-realize niya nga close contact dito siya, then that particular student should report directly to Xavier na agoy na close contact di ay ko, nakasulod ra ba ko, nakasulod ra ba ko sa naka-appeal ra ba ko sa among laboratory activities. So, in that sense, wala gi sala tong estudyante, right? Kay sa iyang una-una, wa man siya kabalo. Wa man siya namakap sa iyang health declaration. So, in this particular case, mo na ni nga walay sala, but it depends on what is the result of the investigation by the OH, no? Or sa mga sa baning mag-atiman ani sa contact tracing. Appeal po ng Xavier ani, I think naman sila part ani. So depende kung unsay ilang ma-come up nga decision, then mag-advise din sila sa ato, then that would be the basis of our decision also of what would happen to the lab class. Okay.
Pero ang
Sige,
grade,
Carlo?
affected dayon.
Yes.
Ang grade after na kay ma-affected din sa mga remaining activities.
Amo na lagi gakuan ta dato sa grade, So murag actually tama tong istorya pod ni Sir basing from the difficulty of the issues concerned regarding the maapektahan ba ang grado. I think there is a need for us faculty members to really talk into the matter together with ACES para kuan ginato ang atong own implementation aning 10 to 20% for whatever na version. Okay, case to case basis gid siya. Sige, ato lang sana siya i-park na topic. So let me proceed to Ma'am Julian. Siya maning sunod.
Thank you, sir.
Hello, good morning sa tanan. Morning, sir. So, unahon lang akong address ang first question na lang ako na lang apelo ni Carlo, no? So, regarding sa kanang mga close contact ng issues bitaw, we can really eliminate that or prevent that using our policies. Kung mag-follow lang kita sa social distancing, wearing of mask, and not talking a lot. So, ma-eliminate yun na siya. It doesn't necessarily mean kung nakikauban na close contact, automatic close contact na po everybody in the classroom. So following of protocols, we can really eliminate that. And then katupong concern kaganina kay Mr. Bote, I'm actually asking good kay Ma'am Sherlyn, no, na can we allow the students and the faculty to conduct make-up laboratories for those students with very valid reason nga wala sila nakatunga sa laboratory classes. We still have Saturdays nga morning free atong laboratory na wala tay gi-schedule, and I guess free pod ang mga lab technicians. So para lang ma-accommodate katong students nga valid ang reason na nag-absent and then they really wanted to make up with their subjects or with their grades. Pwede ba, sir? Pero that would be an additional planning na pod siguro, sir, no? Okay.
Oo.
Yeah, medyo kuan siya.
More effort yun.
More effort sa faculty and the lab technician. Yun siya. But still, part pa man gyapon sa atong days of work, wala man siguro yung mawala po.
Yes, Ma'am Julie, I agree with you. Because if you can remember, katong akong previous na presentation, ang gikuan ako ato is by default. Default. So meaning, ang yang kuan ba, kanina pang initial ginato nga setting, mo gina nga di ta mo allow o extension sa laboratory class or rescheduling. Di ta mo allow by default. But I think with the sharing of Manjoli now, so nagya po naman gining exception to the rule, right?
Yes. Maybe additional report to CHED na sir.
We don't need man to report to CHED nga kuan kung mahitabo ni. We don't need to report to CHED naman as long as we still follow whatever protocols that we have declared sa atong report to CHED prior. Di man kailangan. So, this is one of the items nga dapat diskussan sa sa Dean's Council para ma-appeal siya. So, mani mga details sa atong implementation in relation to the grade. So, dili na ko moingon nga katulang sa 10 to 20%. So, napagi mas lalom. Okay. Thank you for this, Ma'am Julie. Kay murag midugang ni siya sa kuan nga.
Yes, sir. And katong
natay mga
concern din ni Sir Jeff, yeah, computational lab yung Saturday and 7:30. Kuya man sa daan.
Lagi.
Okay,
So,
thank
Sir
you,
Jeff,
sir.
computational gid ito siya, Jeff. Okay, kinsa ba yung nakasunod? Is it Carlo? Sige, Carlo na lang. Si Jen B di ay Jen B Matalaba. Jen B.
Good day, sir. Naalang ko yung question, sir, in relation to Sir Carlos' proposal on Miguel's question, gani, sir, about overcoming the 80% max grade. Is it applicable, sir, sa mga non-scholar students?
I hope so. Kung kuan gito siya ha, kung ato to siyang so theoretically ha, if we're going to apply it to the scholars, then we should not discriminate non-scholars. So that is always the very safe principle. Equal treatment. So I hope that answers your question, Jen B.
Thank you, sir.
So kinsa pa nakasunod? Si Carlo. Then sunod din si Bilaong.
Carlo de la Cruz na, sir?
Yes.
Naganda ni Carlo. Okay, good morning again. So atong discussion is morely on kung magsakit ang mga estudyante. What if kung ang technician or ang instructor magsakit, sir? Can we reschedule the lab or can we opted to change it to online?
Kuan, sir. Inanay gini ang kuan. The basic rule yun, if the faculty or the instructor is not present in the lab, physically present in the lab, and then the students are there and the lab technician is there also, then the lab experiment or the lab activities would never happen. Dili na siya allow. Dapat na agad si instructor. So with that, mo ato na din ta dayon sa katubitong mga options like katulad mga implications nga kung si estudyante, katulad mga grades and so on and so forth. So I think in this particular case, we just have to try the possibility kung pwede ba ma-reschedule.
Kay lima may na sila ka estudyante. So
Oo. So
mas
siguro na
i-online na lang diretso.
Dili pod. Kay kung dili nato ni ma-resolve bitaw ang katubitong kung mahimong online, mahimong 80% lang and so on. So it's another kuan man dapat i-resolve. So
Hindi kay instructor may wala, sir.
So, malagi. So
dili na 80%, 100%
kung makabalik pa si instructor na may time, then may possibility nga ma-reschedule na to ang laboratory class, right?
Yes.
Pero kung depende na po na sa time yun, kung di na limited ng time, then dito na lang ta sa online equivalent. Okay. And then once mag-online na, katong dito nagpili na ta sa online, ato na din i-resolve, ato na din i-apply to kung sa may atong resolution atong 10 to 20% with regards to unintentional bitaw nga kuan, mga unforeseen nga mga events.
Kana kung ang estudyante mo yung nag-absent. 10 to 20%.
Apil na po sa atong consideration ang faculty. Lahat naman po ito aside po. Okay, sige. Part na siya, sir, sa atong i-resolve sa Dean's Council.
Okay, sir. Thank you.
Sige. Sige sa pa ba? Si Miguel Bote?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Sige, sir. So, kaya po, sir. So, maybe dili siya question, sir, but more of a suggestion. Kanang, what if, sir, ang makaya ba sa PTA nga i-shoulder ang expenses of students related to limited face-to-face, like maybe health insurance or even RT-PCR tests, sir. So, Nabay way ang among kung ACES magidang mag-propose sir kay taas kay ang processor na delay so nabay way nga maybe ang admin ang mag-ask or even i-lobby through the VPHE nga ang SUKPA or PTA ang mag-shoulders or at least naman for the students.
So you're saying katong RT-PCR nga gasto?
Either kana sir or ang health insurance sa tanan students nga mag limited face-to-face sir kay 1-2 man to per student sir di ba?
1, 2. Yes.
So
wala na ba ako naka-appeal sa meeting yesterday kay busy kay ko sa enrollment sa PTA. So na-discussan ba ka ni dito na-propose ninyo dito kining ang health insurance ang mo cover is ang PTA? Na-discussan ba niya siya? So
wala sir kay again sir ang concern wala po ko sa meeting sir pero ang concern din sir kay if ang ACES mag-handle mag-propose sir kay taas ang process and dugay pod ang release sa funds if ever sir. So
I think dili man na siya concern basta supported good sa PTA and then sa college. Wala may problema sa release sa fund. Wala may problema. So actually it's a good possibility nga kung makaya sa PTA, but of course dapat i-discuss pa rin sa PTA because ang PTA nga funds is also some of the PTA funds is coming from students who are not required to or are not programmed to have limited face-to-face nga mga klase, di ba? So usually naman po ang mga first year, mga second year, and then mostly sa kini mag-limited face-to-face is third year and fourth year. So it remains to be discussed, but it's a good kuha na siya kanang proposal.
Sige sir.
Sige. Carlo De La Cruz, are you still raising your hand, Sir Carlo? Wala na. Sige, salamat sir. Any other concerns? Okay, time check, it's 11:17. Okay, so we have used up more than 1 hour already. So, kung wala na concerns, so ako na lang sigurong i-wrap up, no? So, I hope some of you could help me in mentioning the important points that we have discussed today. So, number 1, I think ang pinaka-importante gid is katong 10 to 20% bitaw, then how it would affect the scholars, how it would affect the students who have been unintentionally affected by circumstances and so on and so forth. And then it is related to the proposal or to the sharing of Ma'am Julie nga katong maybe we should consider the possibility of rescheduling laboratory class if ever kaya pa sa time and resources, because it could be one of the solutions with regards to the concerns raised by Miguel Bote and the others nga nag-support sa iya. Then another thing sa pato ang atong they help me napabaylain nga issue nga nalimtan ako so di na kay ko makadugdong.
Learning contract, sir.
Learning contract. So the learning contract would have to be revised para ma-capture na to tong mga students nga mo declare gid sila nga at the beginning nga dili sila mo avail or mo appeal sa limited face-to-face. So, okay. Anything else? Na wala na ko na mention so butoy kaduha learning contract. What else? Tabangi ko yung dongdong. Hindi ko pa dongdong. Anyway, recorded man pud mi, no? But I want us to really discuss it in our closing ba? Kaya para makuan gyud nato. Napabaylain?
So far, kato naman ang highlights, sir. So the lab activity, the face-to-face participation in a face-to-face activity is highly encouraged but not required. Although there may be an effect on their grades if they opted to attend but will not be able to for any reason. I think that's the most important highlight of the discussion this morning.
Okay, so daghan batag i-resolve sa atong Dean's Council kay pagkuan kini siya. So case to case basis gid ang kuan ani, so daghan kay nga mga possibilities atong tanawon. Okay. So
siguro sir akong ikuan na lang regardless of what we agreed siguro no even in the council, the final there should also be a the agreement between the lab instructor and the students would also bear weight. So in terms of the way that they will di ba kay sometimes especially for me, I really present the grading system to the student and ask them to comment as well. So pasin po dito nasin sila makuha nga important feedback from their own students themselves, because sometimes different man good ang system na to no depende sa activities in the laboratory. So based on each type of laboratory, some laboratories are integrated with a lecture, other laboratories are purely laboratory, so walay other components. So kana lang siguro siya ang atong i-take into consideration when we decide on the grading system and how the final grades will be affected by the limited face-to-face implementation.
Okay. Sige, ma'am. Okay, so kung wala na, so let us call it a day. So, and thank you for attending our information session on limited face-to-face. So I'm really excited nga mandayon na gid siya, but at the same time excited po ko, quote unquote, nga daghan patag plan sa hunon, no? Daghan gid siya, complicated siya somewhat nga mata.
Yes sir, sa ato nga side sir sa admin napatay plan sa hunon.
Lagi.
Napatay lab tech sir.
Lagi, oo. Sige.
Okay.
So muna to. Sige.
Okay.
Thank you, students, for attending, and most of all, salamat kay sa ACES for being so agile to accommodate my lightning requests. Abtik kayo. Og si Mampaw pod, abtik pod. Niliwat. Mampaw, salamat kayo. Meg, salamat kayo, and all of your people helping. Faculty members and department chairs.
Recording stopped.
Sige, salamat.
Thank you, sir.
Salamat.
Okay, thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you, sir.
Bye-bye.